Welcome to the Global Impact Virtual Conference hosted by ISTE Community Leaders. My name is Lindsay Zilly, and I'm the Senior Program Strategist at Take Action Global, and I live near Chicago in Illinois, USA. I firmly believe that diversity drives innovation, creativity, and problem solving.
And my name is Jennifer Williams. I work with Lindsay and educators from around the world to connect people with purpose and the planet in my role as the Executive Director of Take Action Global. I'm also the author of the ISTE book, Teach Boldly, Using EdTech for Social Good, and am a proud ISTE ambassador. This session today is titled Creating Projects for the Planet. Climate education for pre-K through grade 12 classrooms, and will cover ways to fuel the collaborative classroom and empower students to take action for the planet and its people. Lindsay and I will share the latest research and trends around climate education in practice, ready for action resources, and our favorite, calls to action for you and your classroom. We thank you for being here with us today. So I'd love to share a little bit about our work at Take Action Global, our nonprofit organization of educators from around the world in 161 countries. Today in our session, we are going to be sharing about what we've learned in terms of climate action awareness, climate action literacy, and climate action advocacy. We invite you to share with the hashtag ClimateActionEDU, and we will share resources at the end for you to connect with us along the way. Take Action Global is a team of educators committed to climate education for all. We do this through community development, sharing resources, and working with governments and schools from all around the world interested in sustainable development. We have some wonderful friends and partners that have supported us along the way, including the United Nations, the LEGO Group, the U.S. Department of State, New York City Department of Education and Mayor's Office, and of course, one of our favorites, ISTE. So we'd love to give you some foundational understandings of what it means to be a climate action educator as we get started in today's session. For that, I will turn it back over to you, Lindsay.
So you're probably asking yourself, who is a climate action educator? Who are these people? The beautiful thing about TAG is we are an organization that is completely made of teachers. And so we know what it means to be a climate action educator, but also just to be an educator in general. So when we look at who a climate action educator is, we're looking at two different components. The first is someone who is interested in climate action. This could be somebody who has a background in climate sciences, somebody who's advocating for climate issues within their community or within their school. In addition, though, it is also somebody who's involved deeply in education. It means that if you're a teacher, you can be a climate action educator regardless of your background in climate sciences. So you could be that person that really is involved in climate, or you could just be a teacher who's working with students on a daily basis that wants to make changes for people and planet. All of us, when it comes to the end of the discussion, are climate action educators. And we at TAG strive to help support you in order to find your voice in that climate action world. So let's talk about what words describe a climate action educator. We've had many sessions with various educators from all over the world, and we asked them to think critically about what is climate action education and who are these climate action educators? And they came up with some really interesting words. If you look here within our word cloud, you'll see a variety of different words that describe climate action educators. When you are utilizing a word cloud, the words that are bigger are more common or popular in voting with all of the people that are contributing to it. Jen, are there any words within this word cloud that really stick out to you?
So I know when we first started doing this, we were surprised and our assumptions were challenged a bit because we thought we would find very science-heavy words. But From the beginning and what's continued to grow over time are words like collaborative, creative, passionate, empathy, caring, leader. So these words all continue to stand out to me.
And I think that's what is so empowering about being an educator. You can have this climate focus because you're already being a collaborative person, an advocate. To me, what sticks out the most is empathy. I really believe in social emotional learning, and I think having an empathetic heart and mind lends itself to being an educator, but also being a climate action educator. So it was really cool to see this compilation of words come together and not just be tied to climate sciences. We all have these qualities today. So let's look at the intersection between climate and education. And for us, that's action. And that's where we like to live and do work. We bring in a lot of the expertise when it comes to education and instructional design. And then we seek out experts in the climate industry in order to support the work in meaningful ways. So we are heavily focused on that strategic pedagogical best practice that is then supported and rooted in facts from our friends and experts in partnerships within that climate world. What is climate action education, though, in general? So we've done an audit throughout our experiences, and we've observed some very critical things about climate action education. And what we've come to realize is that it's really uneven. There's pockets of progress depending on where in the world you're looking. In addition, it's quite subjective. So it's determined largely by the classroom teacher's interests, expertise, as well as their political views. It's really lacking coherence. So it varies from class to class or school to school, even country to country, without really any horizontal or vertical alignments. And then lastly, and this is the biggest part, it's consumption over action. So lessons and activities are largely centered on climate sciences as opposed to climate action. So students are reading and learning about climate action, but not actually doing anything with that information. And that's where we come into play. So we've created some really valuable projects that have really supported some work all over the world. And I'd love to share with you some of those highlights. So if we're looking into our friends over in Italy, they have already signed climate education into law. They're the first country to ever mandate climate education for all students. In Mexico, they've committed to environmental education. So their commitment is supporting other nations to support environmental education as well. In addition, in Kenya, they have incorporated environmental activities into their new national curriculum. So students are really living climate change and therefore doing something about it. And lastly, one of my favorites is the Filipino law, which requires each student to plant 10 trees in order to graduate. And not just any trees, they have to be trees that can thrive and survive in the areas in which they are planted. I love these different initiatives that are going on all over the globe, but I'd love to be able to highlight one that's happening right here in the United States. New Jersey is the first US state to have ever adopted climate education standards for all students. They are truly leading the charge when it comes to incorporating climate action education into their classrooms. So if you're looking for resources or tools, New Jersey is a place that you can really look towards to see how it's being integrated into the standards and interdisciplinary units that are happening across the entire state. In addition, when we think about climate action education, we like to break apart these three worlds into meaningful ways. What this looks like is if we were to look at climate by itself, we want to see what works and what doesn't work and shift our practices so that it makes sense. So in terms of teaching about climate, it has to be a systemic change as opposed to something that is isolated. We don't want to simply check a box off of a list. We want to have some sort of systemic change and approach. In addition, it has to be sustainable, something that you can continue doing throughout the years and isn't limited to just a one-time thing. Lastly, if you're thinking about climate, it has to be based in science. We cannot simply use opinions in order to create these changes with our world, in our climate world. It has to be rooted in science. Now, if we look all the way over to our education practices that are working, we have found that it has to be culturally responsive and equitable educational practices over one-sided and biased practices. In addition, climate education has to be integrated or interdisciplinary. It can't lack connection into every other component of the school day. It has to be a common thread throughout everything that students are doing. So this interdisciplinary approach helps in order for it to not be that checkbox, and in order for students to really better understand that it is something that can be taught in reading, in math, in writing, and sustainable throughout their entire school day. Lastly, what's working for action for change is something that is active versus passive, something that gets your students up and moving and experiential. In addition, it has to be a collective action over individual. While individual actions are definitely helpful, that collective action is more sustainable and systemic. All of these changes, when put together, help really create a climate action educator. This looks different throughout the entire world, though. As we know, there are different mandates and different support systems wherever you may live in the world. But climate action is taking place in some really incredible ways, whether it's going into the local environment and replanting a coral reef, or it's creating plays in order to have climate awareness more prevalent in your arts programs, or it's collecting recycled material at the lunch hour in order to create installations throughout the school to make climate awareness more present. Whatever the case may be, we invite you to take action in a way that makes sense to you and your students and is the most impactful. So that's what climate action awareness is all about. Just getting the messaging out there, having climate conversations, because all of us have the power to be a climate action educator. But this time, I'd love to pass it over to Jen to talk a little bit more about our second phase, which is climate action literacy.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. We are so excited to share with you our newest addition to our TAG family. We create lots of projects for teachers and students from around the world to come together and collaborate. For a long time, we have been wanting to include one around computer science and most specifically coding. So we pulled it together and we launched it thinking maybe we could get a couple classrooms to join in with us for the months of March and April 2024. We were overwhelmed and excited to find that we had thousands of classrooms joining in from all around the world and all grade levels. We wanted to share with you a little bit about what our Coding for Climate Global Collaboration project has looked like. We are in the middle of it right now, and what we've learned moving forward. So we teamed up with our friends at earthday.org, and we wanted to build towards Earth Day 2024. So we created a quick, free online project where teachers could join in to teach across the curriculum. We wanted to make sure it was bite-sized and action-packed. So with the project, we have 3 phases. You'll notice there is a lot of flexibility built in. So some of our teachers are wanting to take this project and make it 3 to 6 weeks long. Some are going to pack it in and get it done in under 3 weeks. So phase 1, we start with purpose. So we're having classrooms look at environmental topics and finding a challenge that is meaningful to them. Then they move into phase 2, which is time for coding. So they're going to use coding solutions to build out their ideas that they will then in phase 3 share with the world. So phase 3 incorporates coding, collaboration, and action leading up to our big Earth Day celebration. So let's break it down. Phase 1, classrooms are researching and selecting their league. So we have topics that are focused on water, ocean, land, and energy. After they select their environmental league, then they are going to move into their coding solution. So we've teamed up with some great groups like Lego Fortnite and Scratch. We have a Minecraft lesson. These are ready to go for our classrooms. So if they have zero experience with coding, which is someone like me, not an expert in computer science and coding, then we can guide them step by step through that process. So we are starting to get solutions coming in right now. We're going to share the link to the website so you can access all of the resources and see some of these solutions that are coming in. But I was looking and grabbing a few just last night. This was one that was created and shared, and they made their solution in CoSpaces EDU. And you can see they're incorporating augmented reality and virtual reality, some pictures of the students creating there. Minecraft is a big solution selection that people are using. They really love using Minecraft to build out worlds. This was a classroom and they used Minecraft for a solution for drought and water scarcity. So this is grade 8 students, and they're sharing their plans there. AI, another big one for this year. This is a classroom. They created cartoon images showcasing, you can see that stark contrast, even physically divided by a river, on a lush, vibrant forest on one side and a barren, deforested area on the other. So they used AI prompts to generate this image. And then this group using microbit, also looking at drought and water scarcity. So all different types of solutions that are being submitted. We are having an absolute blast. Our teachers are joining in a WhatsApp group. So they're sharing every day on what they're doing, what they're learning, ways to collaborate, and questions that they have. So this is a big moment of being creative and curious for us. We are learning through climate action awareness, which really helps lead us to one of our longer, deeper programs, which brings in climate action literacy. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Lindsay, to share about what we've learned with climate action schools.
I mean, I could look at those coding for climate projects all day long. They are so cool
So
and
fun.
so many different ways that they're leveraging their learning is just amazing. So but that leads me to another one of our programs that I love, which is our Climate Action Schools program, which is rooted in some really great foundational pedagogy. So typically, when we look at climate action education, it comes from this deficit-based approach. So we're focusing on problems, needs, deficiencies, and we're looking in a light where the community is a consumer. They don't feel empowered, they feel dependent, they're more passive. And so instead of taking this approach to solving real-world problems, what we have done is adopted an asset-based community development approach. So we focus on the assets, resources, strengths, and aspirations. So we're looking at what's working in the community and how can we leverage it and apply it elsewhere. It's designed to build agency and optimism. And one of our big mantras that we always say is building with hope and optimism is just the way to tackle these climate issues. The byproducts of this asset-based community development approach is that it empowers community. It helps them feel more independent, and they're now active agents and creators of climate change as opposed to feeling like passive recipients. So local people are our answer. We look at them as if they are the gifts. And again, we're asking ourselves, what is working and how can we do more of all of this good work that's currently working? This is called the asset-based community development approach, which is also known as ABCD. And this is the framework that was pioneered by McKnight and Kreitzman at Northwestern University. This way of thinking doesn't need to just be applied to climate action, though. It can be applied anywhere. It's offered as an approach to enhance and support the capacity of a community. It's presented as an alternative to that deficit-based or problem-seeking approach, and it generates energy, creativity, and ownership over learning. It's a really great way to approach any kind of education. What we've also found is that it associates a connection in communities where we can build trust, where people feel empowered, and then we're able to create history together. Our asset-based community development approach is one of the ways that we are unique and different because we're not looking towards problems, but we're looking at our solutions. And so with this in mind, we thought, what if we took 100 global schools and we worked with them for 1 year to create an impact for the planet? And then we applied this asset-based community development approach to see what's already working. And so we did that. We took these 100 global schools and we created the Climate Action Schools program. It's one of our flagship programs, and we really do have representation from all over the world. So if you see here on this next slide, you'll see that we have people spanning the globe, solving real world problems, creating solutions, and being involved in these virtual exchange opportunities to share the wealth of ideas. Here's just a snapshot of the various school logos of schools that you might recognize from your neighborhoods and your areas that are a part of the program still today. The beautiful thing about the Climate Action Schools program is that we utilize a platform in which we can filter out all of the noise. It's wonderful to be able to find your people, especially those who are like-minded and approaching things in similar ways. So we have our Climate Action Schools platform where we're able to connect networks of individuals that are working towards taking action for the planet. They're able to share lesson plans, share ideas, exchange different ways that things are working in their classrooms with people from all over the world. In addition, with the program, they also receive the certification of a climate action educator as well as a climate action specialist. So by the time that they have completed the 10-month program, they get these certifications that they're able to showcase to whomever they'd like, and their students are able to feel empowered as a climate action student as well. The breakdown of the program itself varies month to month, but we start slow so that later on we can move faster. So at the beginning of the school year, it's all about onboarding and getting people comfortable with climate action education in general. Around December is when we start our monthly school assemblies. And this is where we invite teachers and students from the entire school participating to be a part of our all school assembly. Each month we have a different topic, theme, or guest speaker joining to share their expertise on one of these different themes. So in December, we talk climate conversations and well-being. In January, it's all about climate sciences, and we had some incredible conversations this year on hydroponics and aquaponics. In February, we talk about climate arts and storytelling. March is all about climate skills and future jobs, and we have some really amazing partners who joined us this year to talk about future jobs that currently don't exist that will be readily available for our students when they graduate. April is all about climate community, and since April is Earth Day or Earth Week or Green Week in some countries, we want to make sure that we celebrate all of the stories that are happening all over the world during the month of April. And then May, we dedicate to climate action research. We look back at what worked, what went well, what could we do next for future steps to continue these conversations. This entire journey is one that is completely sustainable because it's all based on the work you're currently doing in your classroom. We have activities that are aligned to pedagogy and strategic thinking, things like experiencing a keystone species, creating an avatar that reflects your keystone species, putting that avatar on our global map so you can share and showcase it with the community of climate action schools. And then we connect you with 4 global schools in order for you to have virtual exchange with students from outside of your country. In addition, we bring in resources like the Earth Project app, where you're able to track your carbon footprint. And then we bring in our Lego Build the Change mini missions so you can create solutions to bigger real world problems. Things like creating a sustainable house or solar powered and wind powered buildings. Looking at student work from across the globe helps inspire your students to take action in their neighborhood and their community. We have some amazing partners in Moldova, Tatiana Pope, who's helped spearhead lots of youth activism in her country, students in Italy who have done art projects to help exemplify their keystone species, and then people from all over the world who have written articles and have done campaigns to showcase the work that their school is doing within the Climate Action Schools program. So as we move from climate action awareness and building curiosity, we build that foundation in climate action literacy with our students. We don't have to be the ones that know all the information because we co-construct learning alongside our students. So next, I'm going to share it with Jen again to talk a little bit more about climate action advocacy.
Thanks, Lindsay. And we'll be sharing about our climate action schools as well as Coding for Climate with the resources. Another resource that we wanted to share that we'll just give a little bit of information on was our most recent research that we did with earthday.org and Shift Sustainability, looking at teacher self-efficacy beliefs, teachers from around the world, and what they feel they can do in climate action education and sustainable development. So we learned so much after our survey, and we have that to share with you today. So as you check out our research, be sure to look at our 5 key themes that were explored in this report. So here you'll see a snapshot of those themes that were uncovered. What we also learned through our research is that we needed to do more. And we wanted to find ways for teachers to plug in. So as you check out the resources, make sure that you look at the key findings and learnings from experienced practitioners, teachers that have been doing climate action education in their schools, in their communities, and their countries. So much is already happening, and we're looking to them as inspiration. There's other key findings in ways that educators wanted to support and receive support in these areas. So you can check out these ideas as well. So we wanted to end with our calls to action. And one call to action is we wanted to invite you, if you are a teacher in one of these key content areas, or if you know of a teacher, we'd love to talk to you. These are areas of interest for us for this next school year. And we're looking at ways we can incorporate climate action education into these classrooms. We also have some calls to action that we are going to share with you on our Padlet board. So Lindsay, I know you've been working hard to get this ready for everyone. How can they access it?
So Jen's going to share a QR code, and you can scan that in order to get all of the resources, the presentation links, as well as the links to the Coding for Climate, Climate Action Project, Climate Action Day, all of the resources that we have to share. One call to action within there is to plant the seed. Take something that you learned from this experience today and tell that story, share that idea with someone, anyone, because taking action doesn't have to be this big step that you take. It can be simply sharing the knowledge. So we invite you to do that. So please be sure to check out our Padlet board and then contribute to it. Add your story, add how you've taken action, what resonated with you. We're better together, and we can only grow if we know what's resonating with you. So please join our Padlet for the Global Impact Conference. And remember that education for sustainable development is us all. We're all working together to make change for the planet. We thank you so much for being a part of our session today, for being a part of our community of learners. And we also invite you to reach out should you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Thanks again for watching this session as part of the Global Impact Virtual Conference hosted by our friends, the ISTE community leaders. Please watch other sessions, including those pre-recorded and those offered live. You can join in the conversation throughout the conference on ISTE Connect and on social media using hashtag ISTE Global and hashtag ISTE Community. Thank you again for your commitment to learning. We so appreciate you. Bye.